What's good? What's good? We back. Triple P, Paul Pickett Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Pickett, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and more. I'm gonna react to a video by the beautiful Gothics, saying titled "Do We Need God?" But before I do that, let me give you a word from one of our sponsors.
Me and my team, whenever we link up, they gotta be drink up. We sit down, relax and have few glasses when there's things to think about. Like I'm nice with the boss when I tend to the bars and I'm not talking drink ups. So tell the bartender that's tending the bar to please pass me a big cup up. And tell the waitress that's waiting on us to put a little ice in it. Now watch the ice become weightless like the spaceships that I be sitting in. No wait and listen, no, they're waiting for that tropical twist that'll tickle your taste buds. Now taste some. Yo, I insist it's the drizzle.
That's right. Check them out. Dizzlebrand.com. Dizzle premium luxury liqueur, a mixture of agave, tequila, cognac, and orange liquor mango mix. Go to dizzlebrand.com. Click on our locations. You'll see all the store locations in California, Oklahoma, Kansas. Just got picked up by 20 stores in Arkansas from what I heard today. And the very top 3 links are online order links where you can order your very own bottle or bottles of Dizzle Premium Luxury Liqueur. Must be 21 and over. Shipping and handling is included. They got the merch as well. Of course, I ain't wearing the merch today. I'm wearing the New Litter Apparel merch. But let's get into it. Gothics, do we need God?
I find it pointless to argue for the existence of God. I mean, it's an interesting idea to consider, but it doesn't mean much if the person you're speaking with isn't receptive to having their beliefs challenged. You can present as much historical and scientific evidence that you can find, but unless someone actually wants God, none of the evidence will matter in the same way that a smoker isn't concerned with developing lung cancer or how a thug chooses to rob a store despite the high likelihood of arrest or death. So, for today's video, instead of arguing for the existence of God, I want to argue for the necessity of God, because I believe every single person on the planet needs him, whether they realize it or not.
Okay, let me stop for a second. The first part, she basically was saying, if you try to argue with anybody about the existence of God, it's like an argument you can't win because they already have their minds made up, no matter what kind of historical facts or evidence that you bring forth. So she says she's not going to argue the existence of God. She's going to argue, should everybody need God in their life? Let's go.
Of preachy dogma to those that can't bear to think beyond the perimeters of their established beliefs, and as a result, lecture me to death about how I've gone from one cult to another. But I can assure you, as someone who was once very resistant to the idea of religion, I have the perspective of both sides to realize that all of the debauchery and chaos we've been seeing these last couple of years have been the result of godlessness. Wherever you find a society that either rejects God or creates their own version of him in their head, destruction will always follow. So to all the self-proclaimed free thinkers who can't see the irony in barricading themselves in their anti-Christian safe space, all while simultaneously criticizing one side of the political aisle for doing the exact same thing, I ask you to propose a resolution. How do you stop a nation from hanging itself when the hate for the other side is so strong? How do you intend on bringing people together when we can't even agree on the fundamentals of biology and human rights? How will you empower people to do good when so much of our culture glorifies perversion, violence, substance abuse, and mental illness? How do you plan on fixing these problems without God? Here's a thought. Do you think the members of Antifa believe in Jesus? What about the BLM rioters or the trans activists? The Bible says you will know them by their fruits, meaning you will know someone is a true believer based on their behavior. This is also why the Bible says the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, because Any logical person would be wise about how they behave if they knew a negative consequence would follow. Think of a child who acts up when they're in school but wouldn't do the same thing in front of their parents. The fear of consequence is what stops them from misbehaving at home, but it doesn't necessarily make them respectful and obedient because they've created conditions for when they're well behaved. Similar to how social justice ideologues have reservations about who they're kind to. Now, here's the irony. Whenever a conversation relating to Christianity gets brought up, the people who believe a lot of these progressive ideas tend to say they either don't believe in God or create some obscure version of God in their own head based on their own desires, which is about as pointless as rubbing crystals and sage all over your body with the intentions of manifesting a husband. Not gonna happen. I've seen people even go as far as to say there shouldn't be any form of religion because of how much it's hurt humanity. And to be honest, I kind of agree with them to an extent. Being religious isn't the same as being a follower of Christ. Sure, we all know that socially, religion is perceived in a way that suggests believing in God entails a set of rituals like going to church every Sunday, doing good deeds, or memorizing the Bible. While all of those things are good, they don't actually prove that someone's a real Christian because the focal point being that Jesus died on the cross to save us is getting lost. Religion, as I just described, is what leads to the erosion of God in most, if not all, progressive churches, where killing your baby is now morally right because the non-binary pastor told you so. When the primary focus becomes how much of a good person you are, you end up with Christians who co-sign on every social justice cause that's relevant at that moment. So no, I don't like religion and neither does God, but I understand what people are trying to convey when they say this. And what they mean is referencing the Bible to determine what's morally good is silly because we as humans are perfectly capable of establishing our own morality. Yeah, the same human beings who believe it's possible to live your life as the opposite sex with no regard for how that ideology throws off the natural order of the world. Who cares if people are at odds with each other because women want to have their separate spaces from men and don't want to be coerced into enabling someone's mental disorder? It's okay. Keep demonizing the majority of the population as long as Sarah feels validated and affirmed as a lesbian transgender woman. The reality is that human beings are natural worshipers. Let me reiterate it. Every single person on this planet worships something. If they're not relying on God's word to know that only men and women exist, then they'll be more likely to believe in infinite genders because they read it in a research paper or heard it somewhere from some expert. Without understanding that God made us all equal and that our physical appearance isn't as important in comparison to what's on our heart, the world will start to fixate on superficiality like skin color while neglecting to realize just how poisonous they've become on the inside. All because a diversity educator instructed them. And without understanding that God provides us with what we need as long as we seek his kingdom first, then what's stopping someone from compromising their values just for the sake of making money? Without God.
Okay, let me pause for a second. She said a lot there. Let me take myself for example. I would say that my morals came from my grandmother, who she definitely did take me to church as a kid every Sunday. Um, but me going to church wasn't really about God at the time. It was really just about spending time with my grandma. You know, those trips to the Bojangles before church for breakfast and K&W for lunch afterwards. And yes, the morals and the values that my grandmother instilled in me and my grandfather or Christian values. I'm a person who doesn't believe in God, not into the sense of what man says God is. So I kind of disagree with her somewhat that you don't need God to have these morals. You just need a person with morals to teach you these morals, you know. And if they're godly or Christian or religious, hey, that's cool. That's fine and dandy. But like, for example, my sister, her and her husband are very Christian, very religious. And I'm not. I don't believe what they believe from a religious standpoint, from a godly standpoint. But we do agree with a lot of the same morals. Partially has to do with the fact that, my sister had the same grandmother, you know, and so that's the thing. I don't necessarily think you need God to have morals at this point in society. We just need people to raise people with the proper morals, and if they're godly or Christian, that's fine. I mean, because even Islam and Muslims, they have morals. The actual ones that follow the religion, not the people that take it use it for terrorist acts. Of course, Christians did that historically back in the days too, with the Templar Knights and stuff, when they went and conquered Jerusalem, in the name of God for the Catholic churches, you know, and that's the thing too. Like the religions always, each religion has, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They don't always follow everything across the board. Each religion takes a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And, they might say, we'll implement this, but we're not implementing that. So, I think she was also saying that, like, you don't really need to go off of religion. You just need to believe in God. But I can't even go that far because I'm a person who's believes in the laws of nature and just actual creation. And she also said that we're designed to worship something. I don't know that I worship anything. I know that my main focus in life is making money, but that's simply because I have to pay a lot of bills, and bills keep going up, and prices, but everything keep going up. And I'm also trying to be successful, you know, at what I do. So, but I don't think I worship anything. Like the Egyptians say the sun was God, and I kind of believe more into the Egyptian thing that the sun is God, because all life revolves around the sun right now. As far as I can see, the planets revolve around the sun. This global warming revolves around the sun. The oxygen and carbon dioxide, I think that revolves around the sun, you know, giving off certain energy. I don't know the scientific thing about it, but yeah, the sun is really God in my mind, but I don't worship the sun, you know. So yeah, I get where she's trying to come from. I mean, we definitely got to have morals in life, you know. Even though I agree with I'm a laws of nature guy. I do agree that you shouldn't just, rob people and steal from people and kill people and rape people and harm people and threaten people just for no reason, Like the laws of nature basically is, if somebody's threatening your life and trying to, then you can defend yourself. You know what I'm saying? Then things are like, okay, it's hunky dory, it's okay. You know, the killer be killed, or somebody's attacking you, assaulting you. Hey, laws of nature say do what you got to do to defend yourself. You know, but we live in a world right now that's really dictated by the laws of man because of the consequences that you can face if you break the laws of man, but yeah, I don't totally agree with her. you know I agree with the fact that people need to have morals and stuff like that, but you don't necessarily have to believe in God or believe what man says God is, or what Christianity says God is, or Islam or Buddha or anybody else says what God is. And yes, you know, I want to touch on the worship. Mankind has to work. We are no. I think what it is mankind needs something to believe in. Most people, I mean, because we live in a world where there's very few doers. There's a lot of there's a shit ton of sayers and very few doers. So these shit ton of sayers, they need something to cling on. You know, they need some form of hope, something to believe in. You know, some greater purpose. Because you know, if you're not doing nothing with this actual life that you're living, I guess they need to have a purpose that like they're actually gonna die and go to heaven, you know, which that's the thing. Like, she didn't really get into heaven or hell, and I don't believe she believes in heaven or hell. I don't even think she really believes in God. I think what she believes is that most people need to believe in God to have these morals in life, to have good morals, to be a good person, be a kind-hearted person, a decent human being, an honest human being, you know, and not be a scumbag. But I don't agree with her that you necessarily need God. Maybe most people do because maybe they're weak-minded. But I think if you're strong-minded like me, you can just, you know, take the morals that your grandma raises you with. And the reason I say my grandma, because my grandma's the one that really imprinted like the morals on me and the values, you know. And she was just the sweetest, kindest lady, you know. And that's the thing. Like, I don't knock religion if it makes you a better person. I don't knock believing in God if it makes you a better person. You know, I'm just saying it's not for me because I know what history tells me. I know what common sense tells me. I know what common knowledge tells me. You know, I know what I've seen older civilizations are saying about what God is. You know, and that you know, and we got enough. We have enough evidence that there is no evidence of who God is. There's no actual proof or evidence. So I guess people have to believe in something just to have those morals. But for me, that's not really a thing. But interesting video. I mean, she went into a lot of things. Like, if she freestyled that, I gotta give her props, man, because she was just going in on a soliloquy. You know, like really touching some things because she was even talking about gender, and that's another thing. Like, that goes against the laws of nature, and that goes against religion. So the stars align both with that. You know, laws of nature say, nah, there's just male or female or hermaphrodite. And religion says the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So they're definitely on agreement, the laws of nature and the laws of religion on that, the transgender thing. And then I think she touched into some race things too. But, you know, that goes along with being a decent, you know, human being, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should never judge people, you know, by the color of their skin or just how they look, because you never know. I mean, they might be the most decent human being or the nicest person. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you never know. All right. So, once again, thank you for tuning in. Paul Pickett Podcast. And it was my react to Gothics saying, do we need God? And I'm saying, no, we don't need God. We just need to have morals and values, and that's pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? And if those morals and values are passed down by a godly person, that's fine. But you know, if I was to have a kid, I wouldn't be raising my kid to believe in God, but I would definitely raised them with, you know, the right values of how to treat people. You know, you treat people how you want to be treated, you know, and that's just how it is. Peace, and I'm out.